All right, so let's carry on with the video. So sorry about that. I needed to make two sections just because I needed to quickly handle something. But yeah, so this was the trade of yesterday, and then this morning we also took a trade. Now you can see this thing melted really hard. I mean, I could have actually targeted a 1 to 40 if I really wanted to, 1 to 35. But again, if you're trading with real money, yeah, it's all about your mentality, and it is difficult to hold trades like this. So I took a 1 to 10. That was more than enough for me. So look how far up that was, because then we took out the low of London. So I was happy with that. All right. So then coming up to today, now remember we are still bearish because we haven't tapped into. Well, we did now, but this morning we haven't tapped into this fair value gap. That's in my head, my bias is still bearish, and we were obviously having a huge bearish day yesterday. So the momentum from yesterday should push us into this fair value gap. But again, we are looking for session liquidity and session trades. So what did I do this morning? I mapped out the Asia high and the Asia low as my targets, plus this just below the Asia low was the fair value gap on the daily. So that gave me a lot of confidence to say, okay, we should be pushing down. All right. So what I did was I waited until this liquidity got swept. As soon as this liquidity swept, as you can see, there was a nice market structure shift, and I entered on the fair value gap. All right, so fair value gap was sitting right here. My stops always goes above the structure. So I entered here on 9 o'clock open. All right, there was an entry. My stops was like what, 13. Actually, my stops was a bit below this. It was like 13. It was like literally at, because it felt even quite big, but it almost took me out. And then I targeted the lows. Okay, so it wasn't a great trade. It was like a 1 to 2 whatever, but still, it's a good trade. It's a good trade to take. So no, but actually I took my profit. Sorry, at 1 to 3. So where did I? Okay. Sorry, guys. So I actually entered. So this would have been your entry, but I actually entered on this spot here because what I saw was, again, this swing dropping hard, and there was a gap that got left behind here, and this gap just got filled right here. So I took my entries here, and my stops was just above. So it was like a 10 pip. Now it was a 10 or 11 pip. It was just at this high, but my entries was a bit higher. Um, and yeah, that's just how I entered on this trade. But again, you can decide how you want to enter. You could have even used the fib. Okay, so on this would have been a good fib entry because you had your market structure shift right here, or your change of character. Okay, and as soon as that happened, you can drop your fib because the liquidity has been taken out now. So the market shouldn't push up. If it does push up, then you know it's heading to another target or it's heading somewhere else. So if you take this high to the low, you could have entered on the 68 or the 70 level, whichever fib level you prefer, as long as it's above the 50 level, that's fine. Okay, so you could have literally entered on the fib, stops just above, so let's say 8 pips. So this would have been a better entry to use the fib here. But again, I didn't use the fib here. I just used this little fair value gap that got filled. And you could have targeted the lows here. Okay, so that would have been a nice 1 to 4.5. Great trade. I took a 1 to 3 here, but that would have been a superb trade. And as you can see, as soon as the liquidity got swept, this fair value gap got tapped into. Well, it didn't get really tapped into, so we might even be bearish. But let's say just because the liquidity got swept here, the low got swept. Look at the reaction that we got here. Okay, so it's a clear reaction, okay, to the upside. Now, again, I wouldn't buy here, but even if you were wrong with your bias and you said, okay, I'm waiting for this fair value gap, I'm waiting for the Asia low, there was even entries here that you could have taken entries on the change of character. Okay, so, or even on the breaker blocks, there's a breaker block sitting here. So again, this is an example of a breaker block. This was the order block, and as soon as it broke through, that's where you could have entered. So you could have entered, now you would have been in the market. Now it's not a high probability because we are bearish, but you could have literally entered, stop just maybe below this order block sitting here. And that could have been your entry, and you can target your 1 to 3 or whatever you target, minimum 1 to 3, or you can even target liquidity above here. Now it's not to say it's going to reach that, but again, that's the whole idea of it. So the whole idea of the strategy is to get better risk rewards, but you need to understand liquidity levels, you need to understand high time frame buyers, you need to understand your range where you are in market and price. And you also have to kind of time that with sessions. So not necessarily kill zones, but you need to time that in session. So in between sessions even, but not, I won't recommend trading after, New York close. There might be entries on New York close as well, but yeah, you can decide. But again, the whole fundamental idea is that as soon as the liquidity gets raided, you're going to take entries. Okay, let me just check where's that notes again. No, I don't have my notes anymore. That's fine. All right, so but the first step is identify high time frame buyers. Okay, so going on to the daily, we understood that we are bearish until at least this fair value gap, so that's our buyers. Then we're waiting for that session liquidity to get swept. So yesterday it was this high here, so this was also a main high, that was a session high. Then today we had the Asian high that got swept before the sells again. Okay, so after this fair value gap gets tapped and get a, maybe a 15 or 1 hour breaker structure to the upside, I'm definitely going to look for buys, but in session and session liquidity again. All right, cool guys, hope you understand. If you don't, please let me know, and then enjoy the strategy.